Ladies and gentlemen, in this RedGamerTech.com video, we're going to be going through the latest news on another piece of DLC that is apparently in the works for Mass Effect 3. This follows a fairly disappointing release of Omega, which of course was the DLC for Mass Effect 3 that was just released last week. It wasn't up to the expectations that many of us had for it, and to be honest with you, it received, well, lukewarm at best reviews, which is unusual for a Mass Effect DLC, which usually scores really highly, and indeed some of them, such as Kasumi's Stolen Memory, are a really good piece of DLC, and I'd recommend you check them out. However, it's been announced now that Bioware Edmonton is going to be responsible for this new piece of DLC. As far as I'm aware, it's not been named yet. This is different because Omega was developed by Bioware Montreal, and a little bit of tidbit of information for you guys. Bioware Montreal are also responsible for Mass Effect 4 development, so I don't know if that's cause to worry or not. It's a bit early yet because we don't even know any of the details. Anyway, it's fairly unusual because unlike most pieces of DLC in history, this has got a very large writing team. Indeed, it includes some of the core members of the staff, such as Mac Walters, who was of course responsible for much of the Mass Effect 3's writing. This means there's going to be 8 people writing this piece of DLC, which is an indication just how seriously Bioware are taking this. Also, Sam Hulick, who was the composer for much of Mass Effect 3, the last actually work he did, however, was for the extended cut. He hasn't done anything on either Leviathan or Omega. He was absent basically for that whole project. Anyway, also is interesting to note that Seth Green, who of course you guys will know as the Joker, or Joker, who's of course the pilot on the Normandy, is also going to be making another appearance for this piece of DLC. So it's very interesting just how much they're actually going to be putting in terms of work. They're really treating it like it's going to be a big addition. It could be speculated that it's going to be, assuming it's not going to be a prequel to Mass Effect, I'm referring of course to Mass Effect 4, that this new piece of DLC is going to be almost like bridging the gap, maybe. I don't know if that's necessarily true. We do, however, know that Kaidan Alenko is going to be back, or at least the voice actor who played as him. This was kind of linked from a tweet by the actor in October. We do, however, know that there were files hacked from previous DLC packs, and while of course this is definitely not conclusive, it was to suggest that this last 4th piece of DLC, there were 4 planned as far as I'm aware, was going to be focused on the Citadel. So this was also, by the way, a method used to identify the Leviathan on Omega pieces of DLC as well. I'm very, very interested to know what this last piece of DLC is going to be doing. I haven't actually picked up the Omega piece of DLC yet. I was definitely going to, and then I just decided not to at the last minute because I kind of checked out a few reviews from various websites, and I wasn't as infused as what I kind of was expected to be, especially when I was checking out the trailers. It really looked a cool piece of DLC, and that's why I was so hyped when I was giving you guys information. Nevertheless, it seems that they're definitely taking this last piece of DLC very seriously, and I'm hoping it's going to be more than, like, I don't know, an hour of playthrough. That's not to say that I'm sorry. That's not to say that other pieces of DLC for Mass Effect have been short. Some of them have been reasonable length, like an hour, a couple of hours, something like that, depending on the piece of DLC in question. But I'm hoping for a decent amount of playthrough, especially since typically the piece of Mass Effect DLC aren't exactly cheap. You know, they're not just a few pounds here and there. That's not a complaint as long as the entertainment's, you know, good and worth it. Obviously, they're going to be releasing the whole Mass Effect collection soon as well, so that'll be very curious to know what actual changes they've made on that whole bundle. So anyway, I guess the rumour mill speculation starts right now. As far as I'm aware, there's no exact confirmation as when this thing is going to be released. or see the light of day. I have done some Googling. It doesn't appear like there's any information yet. So anyway, hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video. Even though there's not a huge amount of information, it does let you at least know that they are working on it, and they're going to be reuniting quite a lot of the old team. It's good to see Joker returning. He's actually one of my favourite characters from the original series. I really liked Mass Effect 1, 2 and 3, as I've mentioned before in other videos. In my opinion, Mass Effect 3, as I've mentioned previously, I feel was the weaker out of the 3 games. I felt that Mass Effect 2 was probably the best. I think it had kind of the best balance overall. And I wasn't that fond of the whole multiplayer aspect of Mass Effect 3. Not because it's multiplayer or anything like that, just I felt it kind of took some of the focus off the single player. So anyway, we're going to be seeing what happens with this. I'm really excited to see what happens with Bioware on this one. And it also, because Mass Effect 4 is going to be handled by exactly the same team as Omega, it makes me very curious as to what that team's going to be doing. It is a good chance, of course, that, you know, they just got their feet wet with the project, and it's no indication. After all, once, you know, you can make a bad game, then you can make a great game, and one piece of DLC is not in any way an indication of what you can do with a full title. Anyway, it's just a bit of speculation on my part, so hopefully you guys have enjoyed the video. I will see you around soon, so bye for now and take care of yourselves.